TCS ION, I, Mudita Bansal, welcome you all to this interesting session on digital transformation in commerce. So, digital transformation is dramatically shaping and reshaping industry after industry. Most of the organizations are pursuing large-scale efforts to take advantage of these trends to compete and stay relevant in their respective industry. So in this webinar, let us cover the challenges faced by commerce educational institutes during the transformation process, ranging from changing the mindset of the staff, adapting to the new technologies, managing the shift from offline to online with all stakeholders, opportunities uncovered due to digitization of processes, and the benefits leveraged in the further roadmap. So in this session, we have invited two distinguished experts to understand digital transformation in commerce and its corresponding challenges and opportunities. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Namita Rajput. She has served as the principal of Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi, and has an enriching experience as Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce at Sri Aurobindo College. She has earlier taught at other premium colleges like Kamala Nehru College, Venkateshwara College, Shivaji College, etc. She holds an MPhil and a PhD in International Business and a postdoctoral research fellowship program in finance from the Department of Financial Studies. She holds an MPhil and a PhD in International Business and a postdoctoral research fellowship program in finance from the Department of Financial Studies. She is also a certified lead auditor for ISO quality standards. She is a national trainer for accreditation of HEI and associated with IQAC Cluster India as a national resource person. She also holds a master's degree in information technology, pursued a Microsoft certified course in cyber law, procured CEN certificate from Sun Microsoft, and also holds a certificate course in computer science, MOOCs from prestigious universities like Harvard Business School, MIT, University of Leeds, Swayam, etc. Besides her rich teaching experience for almost 27 years, she has contributed tremendously in research primarily focused on areas concerning finance, human resource management, CSR, and sustainability and higher education. Over 200 conference proceedings and publications in a plethora of listed journals are credited to her name, out of which over 70 are published in Scopus, ABDC, that is Australian Business Deans Council, and journals listed in UGC CARE. Dr. Namita has been invited as a delegate on numerous occasions, participated and presented papers in over 150 national and international seminars, and invited for lectures in international universities such as Brunel University, London, etc. Furthermore, she has published over 20 books and contributed many chapters to the other respected publishers, including Bloomsbury Publishing, Springler, Taxman Publication, International Book House, Lambert Academic Publishing, etc., in over 25 volumes. She has been awarded by Ministry of Culture and facilitated by Education Minister for her contribution in higher education. Last but not the least, she is the President, UNHAD Foundation, an NGO catering to the need of underprivileged children of the society. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Namita. Next, I welcome Dr. Anil Kumar, who is an Associate Professor at Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi, an alumnus of SRCC himself and Harvard Business School. He did his post-graduation in commerce from Delhi School of Economics. He was awarded a PhD degree by the University of Delhi for his thesis on corporate governance. Dr. Kumar has contributed a number of research articles in national and international journals. He has presented his research work at international conferences in India and abroad and has conducted several executive development and training programs for government officers, corporate executives, and directors. He is a leading consultant for higher education and CSR. He founded Vittashala, launched by the then Union Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, to spread financial education across every nook and corner of the country. He has over 30 years of experience in teaching, research, training, and consultancy. His area of specialization is corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, and higher education. Dr. Anil Kumar has authored many books, to name a few: Corporate Governance, Society of Capital Market Research and Development, Business Ethics and CSR, Company and Compensation Laws, and the list just goes on. A very warm welcome to you as well, Dr. Anil. So we'll start with Dr. Namita Rajput. Could you share your experience on the challenges faced during the transformation process in your college, ranging from cultivating the right mindset of the staff to adapting to the new technologies? Over to you, ma'am.
Giving me an opportunity to share my experience. Actually, for 3 years, I was on a very different paradigm for what I was earlier. And chairing, a particular institute or leading an institute, then actually you come to know about the challenges you actually face. So I have a beautiful experience of teaching in the same college as a teacher. So I can very well correlate, both these positions. That what impediments do you face as a teacher and what impediments do you face as a principal. So I'll be sharing my heart to you today. So one of the most obvious consequence of the current COVID-19 pandemic is the infusion of data-enabled service into ever more aspects of our life. We expect digital transformation to be even bigger initiative for all types of organizations in the short-term future. And contrary to a popular belief, digital transformation is less about technology and more about people. You can pretty well buy any technology, but your ability to adapt to a new and even a digital future depends upon developing the next generation skills between the talent potential. And this was the biggest challenge I faced as a principal, because there was so much of resistance when the pandemic was there, when the first lockdown came. So, honest confession, it was a very topsy-turvy journey to accommodate the education into the realm of digitization. For the start of fierce psychological impediment of resistance to change was a pretty nut to crack. And I must tell you that to play with the concept of digitization and the people's apprehensions about adopting to the new technology was actually a pretty tough nut to crack. People had all sorts of apprehensions as to digitization of the things that earlier leaped forward, but certainly not a smooth journey. But eventually, being the need of an hour, the friction was reduced and the ice was eventually broken in the minds of the people, including myself. So I think we were, quite able to take up the new technology, hug the latest technology, and took it as a new now. And at the midst of this pandemic, we all got a hang of video conferencing, and to be very honest, it was not a bad change either. And I do not, I sometimes miss the classroom teaching as a teacher and as well as of the principal, because you used to meet and greet the students, the young minds, and feel very good around the environment. But yes, I am very content with my home furniture as well. So basically, the educating the staff and the students about leveraging the technology to get the things moving again was a halt, and training the teachers and other staff using the various programs and the platforms like Google Meet and WebEx and then Zoom. So the training also took place all around online during that period. We as a principal, I faced the challenge of approval of the salaries, and it was all processed manually. Used to process manually earlier, but now the notifications and the approvals were e-approval. So everything was e at that time, and it completely changed the conduct of the activities, right from the teaching staff to the non-teaching staff, for the students, for the teachers. There was a large-scale repulsion, to be very honest. Others were not ready to take up with this, and I remember the first notice which came from University of Delhi for the principals, that you have to submit a teaching report about the platforms which was used by the teachers, and the e-resources which were shared by the teachers for the students. So that time the website aspects was a big challenge to put everything on the websites, special help buttons on the website. So that was one aspect which was very, very challenging. That you have to manage online, you have to be on phone, and all the paperwork, submissions, official documents, along with the examination. So it was conducted online, and especially I will be talking about the connectivity of the rural India, because in Delhi University we have the students pan India. So connecting with them and having a poor connection as far as the internet broadband connectivity is concerned. So I requested my staff to make some podcast for them, some Swayam platform lectures. So I did a MOU with the CEC, UGC. So they were, kind enough to give us all the notes. They are very good in that. So they had a big reservoir of the e-notes. So after doing an MOU, so those were really very, very helpful at that time. So I'm talking about March last week when the pandemic started. So students, especially, about the poor connectivity, they were complaining that, ma'am, we are not able to have class sessions which were conducted by the class teachers and the staff members. So it was all about that. I arranged everything by CEC and YouTube lectures. And then we have a digital Swayam Prabha lecture. So we used to share the links, helpline numbers. So it was a hunky-dory type of a thing, and, very, very bumpy journey at that time. But yes, it settled after a period of time. So I take this as an opportunity, and the things which we learned at that period, was tremendously, marvelously good. And if that thing did not happen, we would not have, learned so much in such short period. So it was a blessing, guys, an opportunity for everyone. And this is the new now, and probably in the coming years from now, we have to be in the blended teaching platform. And under the new education policy, we have MOOCs also, the credit transfer. So it was my journey.
Thank you.
So much of
thank you so much.
The road untraveled. There was no direction where to go, what to do. So, but eventually everything smoothened out. The edges were smooth, and we all are very happy now. And the students are also very happy to be connected online.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is so inspiring to see all the positivity around your statements. Accepted the new normal. It has just come. The digital transformation has just come a few years ahead of its time, and that is what the positivity you bring from your statements. Thank you so much, ma'am. So we come to Dr. Anil Kumar. How was the shift from offline to online managed to deliver the promise of technology with all stakeholders in your college, sir?
As you know, COVID-19 changed everything, and shift from offline teaching to online teaching, to be honest, was something which was forced upon us. We were caught off guard, in the beginning, not knowing exactly what to do. In the first instance, we thought that the university will be closed for about a fortnight, and everything should be normalized after that. We're trying to understand the pandemic, and our concern was with the students, that how to continue the teaching learning process with the students. So in the beginning, because WhatsApp group are there with the students, and we are part of those WhatsApp group. So we thought that we should post some study material to the students through WhatsApp group and through the college website and all that. That was the first stage, which lasted from nearly second week of March to second week of April. But very soon, it became clear to us, to everyone, that lockdown is going to last for long. So some of the teachers decided to conduct the sessions online through Zoom. Various platforms were available. We had Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, and so on. For the students, it was a new experiment because never before they had this kind of experience. But then the students liked it. Because, to be honest, it was a kind of assurance to them that we are responsive to the concerns of the students. And for many students, it broke the monotony of remaining home during lockdown, doing nothing virtual. Then from May onwards, we reached a circumstance in which the express in-house training programs were conducted for the teachers, for the non-teaching staff as well, that is supporting staff, I would say, and allow the teachers to conduct classes in the best possible way. The curricula, the evaluation methods, the internal assessment of the students, the, everything, interaction in the class, everything was conducted virtually. In the beginning, of course, it was a new experiment for us, for the teachers also. They enjoyed it. For the sake that at least we are able to interact with our students and their studies are not going to suffer. Universities and colleges thus ensured a continuity in the academic teaching learning programs. And very soon, it became a new normal. Students also enjoy the online teaching because many experiments were possible through online, which were not possible through offline methods. So that way, it was a kind of, I would say, a blessing in disguise, because for us and for the students also, they learned the new way of interacting in this virtual. And because the students are from the commerce stream, management stream basically, every student is aware about the digital mode of payments, online filing, and e-retailing and all these. And very soon, students are aware that they will be joining the industry where they will be facing a virtual world. So it was a kind of a training for them also. But of course, as Namita mentioned, that some students belonging to rural areas, they had some problem because of internet, because of bandwidth problem. And we tried to cope up with the problem by, posting the study material to them and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So it is so good to know that you did all these express training programs for teaching and non-teaching staff. And you posted the sessions, the training material to them, reading material to them. Thank you so much for your input, sir. We'll come back to Dr. Namita. If you could please highlight what was the approach taken for this transformation and what areas were targeted first in your organization?
Yeah, I would like to point out a few. Well, as such, if you talk about the order, there was no pecking order of the things, as the process of online had to happen in entirety. But yeah, the process of admissions were thoroughly solemnized, which is a big milestone for online education, as a hellacious and colossal task that could be facilitated online. So this was the biggest achievement at that time. And then there was a focus on conduct of. First time the examination took place under the open book framework, and it was a bit tricky, and it got a lot of criticism also, that how could the examination could be just out of the box and out of the way which the traditional examination system used to happen. So there was a pen and paper, and the students used to come, get the roll numbers, sit in the exam, work for 3 hours, and then move away and give the papers back. But this was entirely a new framework, that is the open book exam, in which the questions were framed, and of course the answers were given in a very different manner. And these kind of systems, when you talk about admission and evaluation and examination, as far as if you compare this with the global counterparts, we are already quite behind. This is my firm belief. And because of this pandemic, the process of online admissions and the evaluation part and the other ancillary things were, in a completely digital framework, which is the required now. And it is high time that all the university colleges, they are on this platform. So all these issues which were challenging in nature, and big challenges came, but it actually pushed the process in a very forward direction. And very slowly we could reach that. The speed was little less, but yes, kudos to all the university administrative staff that they provided us, so many things about the free passwords. E-books were provided to us. Then the university, access to the journals, to the wide variety of the books. So we were, given the passwords, and we used to share it with the students. So, slowly and steadily, it encompassed the 360-degree development of the teaching learning process, and was done and managed in a beautiful manner, because challenges make you happen the things which are the need of today. So that was our little reluctance was there, but yes, we could manage because of certain programs. I did the first webinar took place, the series of webinar took place in about 40 days. We had 31 seminars enveloping all the disciplines, covering all the faculty members, then connecting with all the students, putting their official emails online. So everything was in order. So it wasn't we can say that the series or the process, but the transformation of the entire process had to undergo a complete change or entirety. Then I'll give you one very good example, that because of the lockdown, there was a problem. The guards used to call me that, ma'am, we are here in the college, where to do the attendance, because the biometric attendance was not under the Home Ministry guidelines of COVID-19. So they used to, I trained them that please download a software from the Google Play Store called Geotag Pictures. So they used to send the attendance through Geotag Pictures. So they also learned so many new things. About the non-teaching staff, I'm specifically making a mention here that all these things were not at all, they could not comprehend all these things, but because of this COVID-19, they learned so many new things that the moment they used to enter the college, they used to take a selfie under that particular geotag camera, and because in that the longitude, the latitude, the date, the time, everything comes. So that evidence in itself. And we used to, because there was a problem of TA, travel allowance, which was a big problem that time. So if you don't come to the college for a month, then of course your TA out. So I had a special care for them, a special need for the digitized attendance. So we took all these measures. So everything was revamped, restructured. But yes, I liked it. The period was tough, but yes, tough things teach you the lessons for life. So that was my story.
Lovely example, ma'am. And I'm sure the non-teaching staff who's learning, who's also getting digitally transformed because of these systems, they would take back some knowledge at home as well. They will definitely take back that knowledge to their children, their wives, their spouses at home. So that is another advantage I can seek out of it. Thank you so much for sharing that example, ma'am. Beautiful one. So Dr. Anil, coming back to you, what do you see the organizational changes that would have occurred that your college experienced, and how did you manage the employees' expectations, their trainings, and other aspects?
Of the processes and the models. Digital transformation, when we talk about this in education, it means reorganization of teaching learning process, reorganization of the student support services, and educational models through internet and other digital technologies. Now, in the case of educational institution, digital transformation is a journey. Because everyone is used to this traditional kind of a teaching, that is chalk and blackboards through face-to-face interaction. Now, interacting with the students who are remotely situated, and sometimes because the internet connectivity is not so fast, the videos are not on, and sometimes even they're not able to speak. So engaging the students in such a scenario was a big challenge, and still it's a challenge. Now, change is something which is always disruptive and is generally resisted. But this change is something where I see no resistance from anyone, because that was the need of the hour, and we as teachers and other stakeholders of educational institutions, they understand their responsibilities well, that the need of the hour in the present situation was to continue with the teaching learning process so that the studies of the students do not suffer because of COVID-19 situation. But when it comes to online teaching, let me share with you that in general, the teaching organizations, the unions, they are not in favor of online teaching. I remember that in the last budget, the Government Education Ministry announced that top 100 educational institutions would be permitted to offer their courses, degree courses online. But there was no paper for it. Because the general atmosphere is not in favor of online teaching. Fear of unknown, some feel that some of the teachers would be rendered jobless without any job. And some professors who are conscious about it, they say that it's not so effective because teaching is not possible unless face-to-face interaction is there. So there was no taker for it. And it was thought to be ineffective and costly affair also. But now with the change which had actually occurred, maybe which was forced upon us, forced upon the educational institution, the online teaching has somewhat become acceptable. I will say about the management education, about the commerce education. Because nowadays, the commerce world is also becoming digitized. If you want to form a company, all the processes is done in the office of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. This is online process. We teach our students digital marketing. So it is turning digital everywhere. So if we turn our education also through digital mode, and if it can be conducted, of course there is always a room for improvement. There is always a room for experiments, that how to make it more effective, how to have more interaction with the students. So that way, I think that there was no resistance from any quarter whatsoever, because they had adopted to a new uncertain future. The university administration on its part has been very supportive also. That very flexible, a choice was given to the faculty members that they can adopt to any platform. A choice was given to the faculty members to begin with in the beginning, say in the month of April, May, that they need not be, rigid about the allotted timetable. They can have their classes any time of the day. And it really helped, because we could arrange many special lectures for our students, which otherwise would not have been possible. And you will see that most of those lectures from the industry people, from other leaders, were conducted in the evening when everyone is free. The teachers are also free. So I would say that digital transformation in higher education and in commerce in particular has been well accepted by everyone. It has become a new. But of course, there's always a scope for improvement. There's always a scope for experimentation. And we have to take care, as I said earlier, about those who are or who belong to the deprived sections, who do not have access to the internet or do not have access to laptop or the smartphones. I think that the university in the time to come has to think about this section also, because education means that we have to promote equality. Let there be education for all. So maybe that in the time to come, this will also come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is so interesting to know a flexible timetable. I really wish we had this kind of an environment in our times. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much. So we come back to Dr. Namita. If you could highlight the opportunities that you uncovered due to the digitization process in the commerce stream.
Yeah, basically, the team, we had a beautiful opportunity of conducting the e-conference with PhD Chambers of Commerce and with CII, with many good industry were provided, and we invited such good illustrious speakers. So benefited at that time, which the kind of speakers we invited, they earlier, when I used to call them that, sir, please give us some time and enlighten our students. So they used to say, no, Namita, we don't have time. There's so much of traffic in Delhi and, stuff like this. So they had valid reasons also, because they are at the pinnacle of their career. They don't have time to visits to the higher education institutes, which they should for some reasons or the other, because they are the ones, if they do not come and share the experiences with the generation Y, then of course they will be deprived of their experience. And of course, we always need the illustrious speakers and the pioneers of entrepreneur and astute intellectuals. So they could, manage to come regularly online, and the virtual visits were so frequent with our college. So, our students were very, very happy with the connection and the industry academia interface. And especially I'm talking about the cross-border participation. I had one webinar in which 8 countries speakers were there. So it was a wonderful session for my students. And basically we are standing on a road of convergence of the mind and the intellect. So ultimately the benefit and the beneficiaries of the digital conundrums. So we are all very happy that all the time is saved, the money is saved, because if you used to invite the speakers earlier, you have to make so many arrangements for their, refreshments, for their memento, for, so many staff members were connected at that time. So they used to spend, so much of time that these are all arrangements which you have to do. So, that part completely outputted, which is a blessing in disguise, because it's building, which is primarily about the institution building as far as the academia is concerned. So, these were uncovered, and the sustainability footprints increased. We are actually on the sustainable footprints much higher and able to organize the economy if such digital platforms are more furthered. So just my part of the story. Thank you so much.
Very interesting. Again, very interesting example, ma'am. Thank you. So it's humorous that we saved on so much of effort and expenses on the physical appearance of guest lecturers. Thank you for that example. So Dr. Anil, coming back to you, what were the benefits that your organization leveraged due to the digitization? Besides the course content, what specific skill-oriented programs do you offer?
Okay. I think the COVID lockdown gave a great opportunity to the educational institutions to make a rapid shift to digital way of learning. The interest with which the online classes were conducted The online workshops were conducted. Online conferences, many conferences were held during those times. Online panel discussions, where we had the panelists coming from diverse backgrounds. And the students had the opportunity of listening to them, sitting at home. Very convenient to them to connect. And let me tell you that millions of webinars took place throughout the country. It was a new way of conducting the seminars where the best of the experts can be invited from all over the world, and it is less costly also. No travel expenses, there is a saving in time also, and no extravagance like tea, coffee, lunch, nothing. So there was a rapid change in educational space, and role of digital learning improved the quality as well as the relevance of education. Now, with digital transformation, the teaching learning process and student support services, everything has drastically changed. Talking about the benefits, during the last session, online admissions were conducted smoothly. Imagine the parents and the aspiring students. They have to travel, thousands of kilometers to come to Delhi to take admission, to undergo the admission process. Everything was conducted digitally. All certificate submission, verification of certificates, confirmation of admissions, and the payment of fees also. The digital payment. It has encouraged the digital payment like anything. So I think that it has, a win-win situation for everyone. Many massive open online courses were started. We had the teachers training program under Arpit platform, where the teachers training were also conducted online. Before that, whenever the teacher training program used to be conducted, teachers had to be away from the college for about 3 weeks. But now with the Arpit platform, there is no need to take any leave or any off from the college. That means without disrupting their normal teaching duties, they can attend to the faculty development programs in the evening when they are free. And many faculty development programs were conducted smoothly where the participation was in hundreds. In some programs, the participation of the teachers was even in thousands. It was a great success, I'll tell you. So the benefits, many online courses were conducted. We encourage the students that many online courses are available, which are free. And I know many students who successfully completed the online courses, which otherwise would not have been possible in the normal situation, in the offline kind of a situation. Student society meet. We have, like in our college, more than 30 student societies. They used to have meeting, and whenever the students used to come for the meetings, they used to, be absent from the classes. Now in the online world, the digital world, there is no need for them to take off from the classes. Many society meetings were conducted in the evening when the students were generally free. Special lectures were conducted again. I included that before also. That you can call anyone at the convenience of the person who is to be called. There is no Sunday, there is no Saturday. There is no working hours. You can call an expert at 8 o'clock in the evening when everyone is free. And the speaker is free. There is no time which is wasted in coming and going. Just lecture time of 1 hour or 2 hours at the most. Many quizzes, many debates were organized, still being organized during this period, conveniently. And the faculty members, we had a regular meeting of faculty members because we have, 13 different different 13 sections having the same course of BCom honors. Now, having the teachers on board, particular subject teachers, and calling a meeting was a problematic issue for us. Because sometimes at one particular time, one teacher is not free or the other teacher is not free. So in the evening, the virtual meetings take place and everyone attended and participated in those meetings effectively. The administration is also able to have frequent meeting. And let me tell you, the best part of this period is that thousands of promotions took place in Delhi University online. In the normal mode, it would not have been possible because in the promotion we have different experts coming from different places. How to find a time for them was a big issue. It would have taken years together had these promotions been organized through offline way. But thanks to, as Namita also said, it's a blessing in disguise. Thanks to the online mode, thanks to the digitization of education. So, similarly, we have many placement talks. When the companies come, they give the pre-placement talk to the students. All those talks are being organized online. Open book examination was conducted successfully. Everyone was wondering that how the examination would take place. But of course, as Namita also mentioned, there was some criticism about it. But then it was a big thing. There's always a room for improvement. So I think that it has the online or digital transformation has immensely changed for the good. The way the educational institutions are functioning, the way teaching learning process is taking place, and the way extracurriculars and co-curricular activities are organized. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anil. A very nice example that you gave on the teacher training. This is excellent to know. But I would really say hats off to the teachers and the staff. After all the turmoil they go through in the day with the students, they again are, expected to spend that time on their own trainings and the sessions and presentations, placement talks and all. So definitely hats off to the education fraternity on the whole. Thank you so much.
For the teachers, let me add, for the teachers, it is not a kind of, employer-employee relation. It's not a job for us. It's a way of our life. We are...
I hope this thought, takes our students and our education fraternity
about our students. 24 hours. There is no time 9 to 5 or something. Okay.
Thank you so much. So the other questions that I had in the questionnaire, they have been partially answered by both of you. So I will swiftly run through those questions. Dr. Namita, the next question was for you.
Yeah, I would like to add few. During this lockdown Unpark program, we had industry linkages with our alumni, which is the greatest part of the institution, because what insights and what connections they have, nobody can have. So I think every institute should their alumni in a greatest possible manner, because when they talk heart with the students, that they have raised from the same institute, they have raised up to the various levels where they have reached. So, back to the roots and, giving the important, the career path, alumni association get registered, having various programs with them, inviting them under the, alumni distinguished lecture series. So, because this is a very, very important industry linkage, besides your, regular programs of webinars and seminars and calling those people on the various virtual and physical platforms is one thing. But to my knowledge, the best factor for any organization is the best power of our alumni, they helped us in connecting our students for online programs and online content writing programs were, they were also suggested by our alumni association. So overall, alumni are they are the gold mines for any kind of an organization, and we should build over a cup of coffee. So they used to say, ma'am, aapne coffee to pulai nahi aur humse lecture karwa liya. So that kind of conversation was very much happening between us. The alumni power is the most important power. The organizations, the insights, the experience which they share with our students, they can very well relate that this is their career path, and this is how they also can move on to the pinnacle of their career. So it is the best asset. So the students will be on internships, content writing, who will be for the organization. This is what I wanted to do in my speaker series. So in the pandemic, the alumni also was proved to be actually very, very good. This is what insight I wanted to give about the Alumni Association.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I'm sure the alumni people would be waiting for your cup of coffee. Please do extend that to them. Thank you so much. Dr. Anil, coming back to you. So what are your thoughts on the benefits through digital transformation that can be taken up on global business operation opportunities?
Competitive globally. How can we do that? If to begin with, we can have the best of the professors, best of the experts coming to us, sharing our thoughts. This is one of the best way by which it can be done. The free courses, online courses, which are the globally best courses, these are being offered and students are taking advantage of that. We're calling the best of the professors from abroad also to share their experiences, their thoughts, to share their experiences with the faculty, with the students. Now, in this pandemic situation and with transformation of offline education to online education, India has started coming to the forefront globally. So far, education is concerned. The blended learning, which is a concept throughout the world, has become now more than acceptable here in this country. In this year's budget also, the announcement was made by the Honorable Finance Minister about the starting of dual degree programs, joint degree programs, joint research. All this is being suggested. Now in India, most of the universities and colleges, they have inadequate infrastructure. The shortage of teachers also. Our National Education Policy 2020 talks about raising the gross enrollment ratio from 28 to 50% by the year 2035. How this will come about? The online teaching, the blended learning, I think, is the solution which can be adopted. Now, because of this online digital mode of instructions, the foreign students, they can very well take admissions here. They need not travel specially for seeking admission. All their formalities can be completed online. And in this pandemic, we have shown that we have conducted the admissions online successfully. The test, admission test, like we have GMAT and all that, which is conducted internationally. Now, if any entrance test is to be conducted by the university, wherein the foreign students have to participate, this can be done online, because now, we have learned, we have transformed in a way from offline to online. There's a digital transformation which has taken place. And for our students also, it has opened up the opportunities to work in global education tech companies, fintech companies. Because what was lacking in our part was that the digital aspect, I think, was missing somehow. Now we have seen that during this period of more than 10 months, the students have learned the tactics of digital marketing. Many students I know, they have conducted the courses on digital marketing. So that means they can compete globally. Global supply chain. Another issue which has come in the forefront during this pandemic and during the vaccination process, that how the supply chain was broken up and how, taking of course the aid of the technology, how the supply could be resumed. So the students now can think of taking global opportunities, whether it is internship, whether it is internship online or offline, or when the situation becomes normal very soon. I think that many global opportunities will be opened up for our students also. And with a change scenario of blended learning, where some courses are offered online and some courses are offered online, I think that very soon we will be able to attract the students from our neighboring countries also. So that way, I think a big transformation is going to take place when we talk about higher education in this country. So very soon we're going to become competitive globally also by adopting the global practices, which are well laid down practices, which are beneficial to the student community. So that way, I think a big transformation is taking place and we are on the verge of it. Thanks to the online teaching, which to begin with, as I said earlier, was forced upon us. But then we are very fast in adopting the new things. We have adopted it. It has become a part of our life. So I think that the future is very bright. So far, the global competitiveness is concerned.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, both of you, for this wonderful session. We have one question from the audience. Tasneem Shahnaz, I'll bring it to you, Dr. Namita. She says that there is a sense of relationship and bonding with students which makes face-to-face teaching memorable and contributes to their growth. Admittedly, online classes have their own advantages, but can we depend on them entirely? Is her question.
Yeah, as far as Tasneem's question is concerned, I very well relate to what she's trying to say, because having a bonding is only possible. It is the only possibility when you have a face-to-face interaction. But because of this pandemic, we are left with no option but to keep the process continuous. So we can make it more effective. So, it is the responsibility of a teacher to get the student engaged in the class. So by adopting to various, mechanisms like making the lecture more interesting, giving the best takeaways, putting some videos into it, showing a documentary, explaining a case study, playing a role model. So, slowly and steadily that bond will be created. Although, I agree with her that to create such a bond online is very, very difficult task, because students tend to just log in and they sleep in the classes. I have seen that mode in my own house also. My younger son, used to switch on the class and used to sleep. And what is this? So they say it's okay. They just put a note that my microphone is not working. So these kind of small things, they have cropped up, and eventually they will be, be at peace. So creation of the bond is definitely a very difficult task, but primarily it is the responsibility of the teacher, who can play a pivotal role in creating such a classroom, virtual classroom, more engaging, more interesting. You have to put a lot of things into it to make it interesting. So I very well relate to what Shehnaz is saying.
So much. It was a wonderful evening with you both today. Thank you so much for taking out the time and giving us all those insights into the world of digital transformation in commerce. And I hope that our audience and the viewers who will look into the video will gain so much out of it. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.